So last week, as we know, Sony finally unveiled to the world the PlayStation 5. They had a very quality reveal event, as we all know. For the most part, the internet has reacted very positively to it. I very much have a positive outlook on that. I thought that it was a really good show. They showed a ton of great games. They had some pretty huge surprises, lots of exclusive stuff. They didn't overpromise. They really kind of delivered an even show that satisfied most people. And of course, we also saw the console, and that was probably the biggest piece of news coming out of it, right? And as I said going into the show, and as I said in my video review of the show, I didn't expect to see the console in that presentation. So it made it that much more exciting and impactful, at least for me personally, when we saw the console. And through that reveal event, and with the after effects being so positive from that event, it of course had myself and some other people turning our eyes back towards Microsoft and the Xbox Series X. Obviously, the situation between the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and the whole next-gen race is starting to heat up at this point. I mean, we're really barreling towards this thing. Both companies sticking to holiday this year for their releases and their launches, which is, on one hand, exciting, and on another hand, a little bit concerning, right? Because how is this really going to go? And what's interesting, for me, at least in my own personal perspective, is I really truly feel, coming off of that Sony event, that Sony really has done an amazing job of shifting the tide and shifting the conversation and really kind of shifting the power dynamic between the two of them. I was pretty vocal in a lot of my opinions and discussions about, like, you know, Microsoft, the Xbox Series X, the mystery of Sony and the PlayStation 5 throughout the beginning parts of the year, about the fact that I was really seeing Microsoft doing an amazing job of leading this conversation and being pretty forthcoming with a lot of stuff. I mean, you know, they were the first out of the gate to show us the console. No one expected to see it last December at the Game Awards, and out comes Phil Spencer, and here's this trailer, and it's like, holy crap, look at that weird rectangle thing. That's the new Xbox. And they told us, here it is. It's the Xbox Series X. This is our next-gen machine, and it's coming out next holiday. Like, that was crazy, but it was really exciting. You know, jokes about the look of the console aside, it was very exciting. And then throughout the early months of 2020, they were giving us some information on their blog posts and on their Twitter account about the Series X, and at one point they even literally gave us a breakdown of some of the technical specifications and what's inside that machine. And as I always remind you guys, I don't really know or understand that stuff. It just becomes a mishmash of letters and numbers, like, all stuck together to me, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know what a teraflop does. But the Series X has 12 of them. That's neat. I don't really get much out of that, but what I do get out of it is seeing and hearing people who understand it talk about it and get something out of it. So what's been very beneficial for me is to learn that apparently what Microsoft has inside of the Series X is pretty darned impressive. In fact, it seems like even after the reveal and information about the PlayStation 5, that the Series X is actually a more powerful and more capable machine. And so that's great. I mean, I prefer Sony and the PlayStation brand overall to Microsoft and the Xbox, but only by a small margin. I mean, I like them both. Obviously, Nintendo's my favorite, but the point is, I like everybody, so I'm not trying to pick sides like in a console war. I don't really play that game. And so for me, even though I might slightly prefer the PlayStation, I still want Xbox to succeed. And they really dropped the ball in the 8th generation with the Xbox One. I mean, I like the console, but clearly they had issues. They could never catch up to Sony and the PlayStation 4. They didn't really have the games, and that fell off hardcore in the last half of the console's life. It never had the power to truly match the PS4, and that really helped Sony get off to a good start. Not to mention, the Xbox One launched with the Kinect, which was its own disaster. And so seeing Microsoft struggle hasn't made me happy, but seeing them potentially have a really successful Series X console coming does make me happy. That's what I want. And so learning that it seems to be more powerful and capable than the PlayStation 5, at least at this point with what we know, is a great thing. Like, you know, even if they're my least favorite of the three developers, like, I'm still glad to see that they have this one feather in their cap, that if they utilize it and take advantage of it properly, they could really do extremely well this generation. I mean, could they sell more Xboxes than PlayStation 5s? I don't know. That's going to be a tough hill to climb. But could they still do well? Could they do respectably enough compared to the Xbox One's performance? I really think so. I really want to hope so. But we come back to the main crux of this issue, which was, throughout this early part of the year, they were leading the conversation. They showed us the console, they gave us the specs, people were satisfied with the specs, and then they were the first to attempt, when I say attempt, a presentation about the Xbox Series X. We all know we got the Inside Xbox show a couple of weeks ago, and I've brought this up numerous times. Most people hated it. I liked the show, but I also acknowledge it didn't do much to bolster the hype for the Xbox Series X specifically. They mostly showed Xbox One games that had a Series X enhancement, so that, right off the bat doesn't really make it feel very next-gen. Also, they promised gameplay, and it was really just, trailers and some gameplay trailers. Like, there was, visible gameplay here and there, but it wasn't like a blowout of gameplay, right? And they also didn't have any big, huge reveals. They were mostly smaller tier titles from smaller developers. There was a couple big ones, but for the most part, that's what it was. And so it really just, my enjoyment of the conference aside, it didn't make a splash or an impact, and it wasn't received positively. So it didn't positively help the Xbox Series X. But since that was before Sony's event, it didn't feel like a huge blow. Now that Sony's event has come and gone, and it was a really, really good event. They made it the best they could to feel like an E3 caliber show in lieu of the fact that we don't have an E3. And it was so well received, and it honestly was so good. Like, I admit, it was a much better showing than what Microsoft did. Now we suddenly have a situation where I think that all of the good ground that Microsoft had earned from the reveal of the Xbox One all the way through their event a couple of weeks ago, it's not that it's lost, but I guess like I said in the beginning, the power dynamic has shifted. Like, they have lost, in my opinion, the ground that they had over Sony, and now here comes Sony with their new event, and they've got all the buzz, all the hype, all the conversation going, and the vast majority of it is positive. Yeah, there's some haters and people talking poorly about it, but the bigger conversation is, wow, PS5 is great. I'm so hyped. Look at all these games. Look at the graphics. Look at the console. And as I said in my review of their show, even if you don't like the look of the console, because people are split. Some people love it, some people don't, some people are in the middle. But the point is, regardless of your feeling about it, your opinion about it, the fact that Sony revealed it the way they did, the time they did, at the end of that already great event where most people were feeling awesome about the PS5 lineup by the end of it, it made an impact and it got the conversation going. And so again, this puts Sony in the current position to be leading over Microsoft. And so now is the time where we really kind of need to see if Microsoft can step up. And I'm going to be real with you guys. I'm getting a little bit nervous for Microsoft. And I wasn't really expecting that because I felt so impressed by how they had been handling their messaging for, this first 5-6 months of the year. I was like, they're doing great. They're gonna continue to be strong. They seem really prepared for this next generation. And even if Sony comes out with a great looking PS5, I'm sure they're going to be able to keep their momentum. And it's going to be a great solid launch between the two consoles. But the more I think about things, I am getting pretty nervous for Microsoft. And that's, with the caveat that I'm still open for them to surprise me and still do great. But the reason I'm nervous is what Sony showed is so many games, so many good games, you guys. Lots of exclusives. I mean, if you go back through that list and you watch that reveal event again, a lot of these really kick-ass looking games are PlayStation exclusives. Not all of them. Yeah, you have your Resident Evil 8 and stuff like that. That's going to be on everything. And Microsoft even touted that a lot of these games, a lot of the games you saw today are going to look even greater and better on our Xbox Series X. So a lot of cross games there, but there's so many exclusives. Your Ratchet and Clank and your Spider-Man and your Horizon 2 Forbidden West thing. These things make an impact, and it's like, okay, we know we got great games coming to the PS5. Xbox Series X, I mean, they could have some great games waiting to show us, but I'm a little bit nervous that they aren't going to have anything other than Halo to hang their hat on. And make no mistake, I'm not going to downplay Halo. I am shaking in my boots with excitement for Halo Infinite. I love the Halo franchise, you guys. I even like Halo 5. People hate this game. It's It's the least best of them all, without question, but I like it. It's fine. The multiplayer is actually really good in Halo 5. And so Halo Infinite's going to be amazing. And it is the kind of game that you can launch a new console with and be successful because of that one title. But what else are they going to have? You know, it's been a while since I've been able to think about a long list of exclusive, amazing console-moving titles for an Xbox console. It doesn't happen anymore. Their biggest franchises are Halo, Gears of War, and Forza now. People want to throw Fable into the mix, but Fable hasn't been around in a long time, and it's never really been a huge franchise, and it's not really going to move consoles the way some of these other titles can. So, don't get me wrong, I want a new Fable, I want a good game, I hope that they're making one, but it doesn't really belong in that tier of game, I don't think. And so, I'm a little bit worried that Microsoft isn't going to be able to come out and match the quality of games that Sony showed. Even if the console is better, if it doesn't have the games, whatever hype it has at launch is going to fall off soon. If they launch with Halo Infinite, that's going to be great, and they're going to launch, and it's going to be a successful launch. Here's the Series X, here's Halo Infinite, everyone buys it and loves Halo. But if, you know, within the following 3, 4, 5, 6 months, they don't have another 1 or 2 pretty big games, if not released, at least coming out on the horizon, the hype for the Series X will die. With Sony, I don't really have that worry right now because I think they're going to be showing us a pretty steady stream of great games for the PS5. This, of course, is all conjecture. I might be wrong on this. You know, I might be right. I might be wrong. It's tough to say. It's just kind of how I'm reading things right now, where you know, in theory, we're 5 or 6 months away from the launch of these consoles. We still don't have prices. We still don't understand exact launch titles. Like, the day we go and pick up our PS5 or our Xboxes, what are the games we can also bring home with it to play? We still don't even know that stuff. So there's a lot we're still waiting on, even actual release dates, right? But I think that we have still enough to go on to start kind of piecing this together here. And I'll remind you guys here at the end of this video, I'm somebody who's in everybody's corner, okay? I'm not trying to pick one console and company over the other. I want both consoles to come out, be amazing, sell like crazy, satisfy gamers, have awesome games to play, because as cheesy as it sounds, and I know this is cheesy, but we all win. If that happens, we all win, right? We know that. Like, Sony fights Microsoft, Microsoft fights Sony, Nintendo fights them all. Who's gonna win? The gamers win, right? Like, that's what this situation is. And so I'm not rooting for one company over the other. I'm just reading it the way I read it. And right now I saw Microsoft leading the charge, and now I've seen Sony kind of steal their thunder and take over. And now it's up to Microsoft to hopefully give us another event and show us games. Games. Microsoft, you bought all these studios. Show us your games. Hellblade 2, I guess, is going to be a game that is going to be exclusive to the Xbox, so that's going to be a great one. Show that off. What is the Coalition making? What is Ninja Theory? Is they're the ones making Hellblade? Like, I don't even remember now. Obsidian, what's Obsidian making? You know, all of these teams you have now, you better have some games ready to go for launch or near launch of the Series X to combat what Sony's doing, because Sony, you know, I thought that maybe they were being quiet because they weren't really prepared, and I think that that was wrong. I mean, seeing the event and the games lineup, I think that they were way more prepared than even I thought. So they're going to come out swinging when they launch the PS5, Microsoft, and I would like to see you be able to put up a solid fight. I want great games on your console. I want to feel compelled to go out and buy both consoles the day they launch. You know, even if, because they're probably going to come out within a week or two of each other. So that's going to be, you know, what, $1,000 to $1,500 or whatever we might be spending to buy both consoles. I want to feel compelled to do that because I want both of you guys to have great games, great consoles ready to go the day they launch. If you don't, I'm going to wait. But if you're ready, you'll have my money. And I think that a lot of other people and a lot of other gamers feel the exact same way I do. But it's up to you guys to show us that. I think Sony's pretty much almost all but proven themselves here. And it's really up to the Xbox to show us that they can do the same thing and match what Sony's doing. It's going to be a tough battle, but I want to believe they can do it. And so at this point, we'll just have to see. So These are my thoughts and opinions. Of course, I want to hear your thoughts and opinions. Remember, I'm a fan of everybody. I'm not picking sides. I just am telling you how I see it right now. What do you think about all this stuff? And with that, this video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in. This is Rob of Rule of Two Review, and I'll catch you next time on another video.